check, make sure you're killing that one last frog that's living on the planet over there, you know?
Yeah.
That's a good way of getting it for that.
Yeah.
We're good.
6:00, we'll call the meeting to order. We go over the meeting procedures. Please stay on topic. Don't veer off topic. Please don't interrupt when someone else is talking. Wait for them to be done and be recognized. As far as the public goes, you'll come forward, you state your name, and you've got 3 minutes, and you also should stay on topic. Anyone that interrupts, speaks out, is a multiple violations will be removed to maintain order. The Open Meetings Act has a copy of it posted on the wall in the interest of the room as required by law. Roll call.
Buckminster, Ferguson.
Here.
Foraker. Here. Castor.
Here.
Frank Killingsworth.
Here.
Kenny Killingsworth.
Here.
Layden.
Yep.
Reese. Here. All right, we have a quorum.
What
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Give the mayor's report, so we move on to the city administrator.
Yeah, council has a written report in front of them, and there's one out at each of the publics. This did not go out on the electronic version. It went on the website, so this got finalized today. Just to give some updates on negotiation committee work, we've got a tentative agreement on the IUOE for the police and dispatchers. So we'll see that coming here hopefully on September 15th. We meet again with our CWA group on the 10th of this month. So hopefully we'll get buttoned up with that and looking at IBW hopefully the next day after that. So we're moving forward with them. We'll see, hopefully we can get IBW before September 30, but it's not on the fastest track to get there. So we'll see how we come along. The audit RFP is out. Deadline for that September 12th. We sent that out to about 30 entities, all of whom submitted, audits for the last couple of years to the state. Some have declined based on workload capacity. A few have engaged with additional questions. So hopefully we'll see some coming in here as we'll expect if we see them, we'll see them on the 12th. Maybe if we come in the day of or the day before. Filing deadline for your audits, March 31 to 26. So there is that time frame to get that done. Ideally, we could have somebody in by September. If not, it's not out of the sorts to get someone contracted by the end of the year and still be able to meet those deadlines. But as far as community economic development work goes, the 1612 project over on Fulton Street is pretty well buttoned up. Be getting the yard seeded here pretty quick. Middle Monroe is getting kind of pictures pulled together. I think they said they'll have that out next week. That to be its online presence put together. We are nearing the deadline for that project for the grants agreement. So within 12 months, where that the property sold or replenish the funds back into the Rural Workforce Housing Fund. So we're going to look at getting an extension on that. Sin didn't think that'd be an issue to get one in, so we're asking for a 6-month extension. Give us a little time frame there so we don't have to replenish that fund without having the property actually sold. Sin contract did mention local contractors utilized was Highway 159 Lumber, Fresho Concrete, Meyer Home Center, Jim Hills, and Sholana Landscape will be the newest one as they're doing the seeding work. Said they like working with our contractors, and they've actually hired a few of them for additional projects outside of our Fall City area. So worked out. CRA is going to be meeting for amendment to the North Commercial Corridor redevelopment plan. They have met. The Planning Commission will meet to review that plan on the 10th, and then we'll have that coming to council on the 15th. So those publications you might have seen out in the paper, those will be coming in quick here to get those done. So what else we got? On the hiring side of things, we're still advertising for water distribution linemen. We do still have our advertisements for electric distribution. Also, police officer, power plant tech, a water plant technician, and the utility bookkeeper here in the office. So, the public works side of things, we're getting ready to submit for the 2025 version of the safety and modernization program, the natural gas distribution that we submitted in 24 that we were not selected for. Board of Public Works still has Southern Cathodic under contract to submit that. They're looking at increasing their budget. I think there was 4,000 or 5,000 left in their agreement from the last year, and they need a little additional to update that. That's a huge undertaking for that grant app, and they're the entity with the most awards for anybody that has applied, so I think they're good to align with as they move forward. So Board of Public Works is looking at that, get that done. That'll still be a $9 million, ask for infrastructure work. More like, even though we did a small project, with inflation and materials, it's probably still gonna be pretty close to that same ask. Well, I did provide a list of kind of updating the projects, that we have in there, so I won't review each one of those, unless anybody has questions with it.
Railroad Bridge water main, I see you got an update there, how's,
FEMA's ready to get that pushed out and done, so they're reviewing the scope of work. We gave them a couple options. One option was to go in, try to fortify what you have, bring a crane in, sheet pile, do a whole bunch of work, which was well beyond the cost of putting in a new line. So the second option was bore a new line downstream the river. So they will do either, it sounds like. So,
you gotta decide
but
which
you
one,
do
right?
have a 25% match when it comes down to it, for anything that's getting it back to where it was. Now, when you're boring a new line, potentially some of that could be deemed mediation, it just, or remediation, just depends on how FEMA determines that, so. They're in their review stage to essentially take the dollars for the project and get them fully associated and say, this is approved, you guys can move forward with what you need to get done. So we'll kind of get an update as we're continuing those, but it's changed hands with FEMA. I don't know, we got on I think our 7th person at this point in time, but their leadership is pushing them to get it off their desk. So it's helping us to get this moved along.
Thank you. Chief?
We're working on a USDA grant right now for purchase of our new patrol vehicle. Hopefully we'll have that before the next council meeting for the resolution. And we just completed the drive sober, get pulled over campaign, and we'll have those stats next council meeting.
Thank you. Monthly report from Southeast Nebraska Land Bank. No meeting was held in August.
Chief,
No report, or is one?
somebody wandering out there wanted to jump in there, maybe. What, I think somebody wanted. Oh, it's Tim. I'm gonna grab my glasses.
Thank you.
Hurry.
Thank you. He doesn't want to come here.
On the routine business, discussion and action, agenda approved.
Motion approved. Second.
All vote.
7 yeas.
Discussion and action, minutes approval for August 18th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
All vote.
7 yeas.
Discussion and action, claims approval for September 4th, 2025.
The report was provided. If there's any questions?
I got a question on page 12. $3,700 for on-call for Ferris Engineering, or just don't know what that was.
if you want.
Just go for it, you know. I'll just pull it.
That's just our agreement we have with Ferris for on-call services, for helping site services, look and kind of do fly-by-seat your pants. You know, hey, this issue came up, you have suggestions on how we should address it, you know. I think it's, I can't remember the invoice specifically, but it's a few months worth of on-call services agreement, and it's on an hourly basis, the agreement we have with them.
Okay, I just know what it was for Crystal.
Yeah, that's what, I think there's been 2 invoices this year.
Okay.
From them.
Thank you.
Motion to approve. Second.
I'll vote.
7 years?
Old business, discussion and action, resolution establishing permit application procedures, inspection protocol, and related administrative procedures for the keeping of chicken hens pursuant to ordinance 2025-106.
Alright, this is kind of the basics that the city hall would utilize, within the ordinance to get applications completed, and follow out the process that was kind of defined within the ordinance itself. The ordinance doesn't put in a permit application or set the fee or anything that needs to be done by resolution. So that's what's included within this, is kind of a resolution stating what we would need within a permit, which is defined by the ordinance, that's just pulled directly from it, setting the fee to $20 for the permit and $10 for renewal, which aligns with your other animal permit pricing that is defined by code. What we're gonna do for site inspection protocol work, you know, doing code enforcement on that, conduct site inspections. We still have the public hearings, you know, after a public hearing, site code enforcement will go do their inspection, make sure it meets conditions to be able to actually issue the permit, after council would approve the application, essentially.
On old business, can we, if I have a question on the last meeting, does that count as old business, or is it gotta be on here?
It's gotta be on the agenda.
Gotta be on it? On this agenda, yeah.
Any questions with any of that?
I'll motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
I'll vote.
7 yeas?
Regular business, public hearing, we're gonna have a public hearing to consider a Class C liquor license for the Wood Eye Sports Bar and Grill at 1821 Stone Street.
Open the hearing at 6:13 PM.
Any-
If there's any public comment.
Any public comment? No public comment, public hearing is closed.
6:14.
Move on to number 2, discussion and action. Application for a Class C liquor license for the Wood Eye Sports Bar and Grill at 1821 Stone Street, Brandon Brown.
Motion to approve. Second.
All vote.
7 yeas?
Discussion and action, appointment of Quentin Coatney and Katie Dreilacher to the Housing Board as recommended by Mayor Hartman.
Alright, a couple of vacant appointments on the housing board, to be filled. So this, I think, will fill out that board completely.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All vote.
7 yeas?
Thank you. Discussion and action, resolution setting the fiscal year 2025 final allocation of the levy authorization authority for the Falls City Airport Authority.
Alright, so there's up to 5 cents of the 50 cents that the city has. 45 of the levy goes to your basic, general operations for your cities, and then 5 cents to political subdivisions. We don't have any requests from, like the housing authority, the CRA, or like the land bank, which all have the ability to put something, request in. nobody made any requests for that. So airport is asking to set their components to be a levy allocation out of 99,489.80 overall for the year. Of that 5 cents, they want to take essentially about 4.7355 cents of it. They are looking at creating a capital improvement seeking fund at the airport because they have a large project they're wanting to do. It was kind of in my administrator's report. They have a $2.3 million hangar project that they're looking to get done. When they do that, they've got to commit all that. So they get entitlement dollars to every year from NDOT specific for that. And they can allocate so many years for that. They can hold up to 4, and then they can allocate a few future years to that. So they're gonna bank a few dollars in, to offset some of their general operations, create that sinking fund to help with the offset of what they would have for out of pocket for that project, which is about 10%.
Do we still have a loan with them? Didn't the city years ago, they're making payments on?
There's a one that's on the audit books that show 200,000, I think at some point in time, the city gave funds to them.
So they're making payments for.
It was never set up
I've just never been
for.
on the airport before, Bob. will
Yep, it was
talk
never
about
set
it,
up
so-
for repayment or defined, so it's just, really just sits there right now. I kinda talked to the airport board about that a couple years or last year about maybe just coming to council and just say, just relieve it.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
All vote.
7 yeas?
Discussion and action. Consider a memorandum of understanding with Evergy Kansas Central, Inc. for the Energy Forward Transmission Project.
Alright, so this will be the next step with Evergy and moving forward with the transmission project. This has not gone to Board of Public Works, we wanted to get this popped through and done, so they're taking action on it tomorrow, we're gonna kind of review that. This one needs to come to council, either way, the dollars are listed in there as not exceeding 15,000. Or like, so you kind of cover your own costs through this MOU stage till you get to what they call a facilities agreement, which is really defining what the next step is. But the language in there does define that it could potentially exceed that 15, so we're coming to council with that, say, let you guys know potentially that potential is there, and the trigger for that is just for them to let us know that it's there, that you're committing a component to that. But ideally, we'll stay under that 15,000.
Motion to approve?
All vote.
Seven yeas?
Move on to 6, discussion and action. Consider a second amendment to the communications lease agreement with Verizon Wireless for cell tower 419465B at 1820 Toll Street.
Alright, so that component is, we have one amendment that was done years ago. They reached out to look at doing another amendment, and really what it's doing is adding the first right of refusal for them into that lease. So if we wanted to sell the property at 1820, which is Old City Hall, which has that tower, that it gives them first right of refusal. So that's really the only changes that are being implemented. Dunn did his full review on it, and we'll revise it. It used to be, the address was 1820, it was when the last time it was done, so it's been a while. So we're getting that updated to the current address here at City Hall. So they pay the city $5,000, as part of this to do it, so they pay us $5,000 to amend this. And they just have the ability for first right of refusal if we were to sell it.
That's a win-win. I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
All vote.
7 yeas?
7, discussion and action. resolution authorizing memorandum of understanding with the Liver Foundation for an AED at Grandview Park.
All right, I think they've reached some funding milestones for the, AED that was slated for Dallas Jones Park or for the bigger ball complex, so looking at potentially doing a second one here, and doing one down at Grandview.
Yep, we are, total funds raised so far is $3,750. We're $1,250 short of getting the one for, Grandview, so hopefully we get that money lined up in the next couple weeks so we can get them ordered and get them installed before the end of softball season this year, so
How much you short?
$1,250.
That gets all that completes it then?
Well, for the two of them, I mean, and then we're good for now, I mean, that's our main goal.
Okay, so this is just a secondary MOU, just referencing, just like it did before, all the terms pretty much the same, just set Dallas Jones, Grandview Park.
Motion to approve.
All vote.
7 yeas?
Great discussion and action. Resolution authorizing a rural workforce housing project at 1606 Moorhead Court as recommended by the Housing Board.
Talk about it.
Sure can.
Got more of that?
Lucas Threshold, Fall City Edge. This is the second phase of that project, basically 1612 Fulton, that's being built over there. There's $1.6 million in this fund. Fall City, Henderson, and Nebraska City are involved in. There's $496,000 left. So all the communities have housing projects going on. I think Nebraska City is on at least their second, working on their third. Henderson wants to work on their second, but they don't have any lots available. They're looking for a lot. That's the last I heard. And so, we've kind of done the one house for the infill concept. And now this second project would be south of the hospital at the new Champions Crossing development. So we've kind of got both projects, both markets, to try to see which one sells better so we can go forward. This, obviously the city put in $200,000 to get the matching grant on this, and we have access to all these funds. The house is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath upstairs with a 3-car attached garage. It's got an unfinished basement with basically roughed in for a 3rd bathroom and a 4th and 5th bedroom with the egress windows in there. So the rule on this deal is you can't build it for more than $325,000. The lot is valued at $34,000, but there's a rebate program on those lots out there to try to incentivize people to build. If you build a $325,000 house, you get 5% of the cost of the house off your lot. So that'd be, I think the math, $16,250 back off the cost of the lot. So this would render 4 of those 6 lots on the west cul-de-sac sold, with 5 more available on the east. The only thing that's not available right now, that is pending, is the electrical installation, which is scheduled to be done here, I think this season. But there's electrical available to build the house. It'll be bored in for each of those 6 lots.
Champions Crossing has dollars associated with that, so we have an infrastructure agreement in place with Folsom Utilities to do that install. And they pay for that install.
Yeah, that's funded by Champions Crossing.
Is it a walkout or just egress window?
Thank you for saying that. There is a walkout basement and then also an egress window.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a pretty good elevation change on that cul-de-sac. On that. So housing board had, some deliberation to get to where it's at. They've been kind of trying to focus, do you do out new development, do you infill? That's where they kind of landed with, like Lucas mentioned, let's try one of each. We have one in here. Let's do a proof of concept out of the Champions Crossing. Get that infrastructure put in, Champions paying for the electric, for everything else that's tied with it, and then get this project moving along with it. So you'd be associating dollars with it, you get the grant dollars coming back in, but you still do need to make the purchase of the property, so we would be authorizing to do the purchase of the property, put that into your the coming fiscal budget in the rural workforce housing fund itself. Get that piece going, that would be the next thing after it got, if CNAC goes to get the application submitted and gets approved, you're gonna need to close on the property before you can actually start construction.
How much money do we have in the house on Fulton Street? City money?
City money, I think that loan was at 317.5 plus 4,500 of admin fees plus 56 or 5,800 of lot cost.
So then this house is gonna cost.
So this
I'd
house,
like to go back and look, but.
yep, so
But that's.
349.5, I think, is what the total loan request is.
But that's what's gonna come out of the city's pocket to build this.
This is,
That's what I'm asking, city, what's coming out of city.
No.
pocket.
well, nothing right now.
And then it's a
So,
match.
so the city put 200,000 into that fund, that pool of
I
money,
remember doing that.
and that opened it up for this, how many ever dollars was
Yeah.
associated with it. Right now, there's $500,000 sitting there still, or 200,000 just sits in that fund forever.
Sure.
You don't get it back. The only way you get it back is you just keep rinsing and repeating and keep it flowing.
So when we built this house over here, we had that 200,000 on, we had, the city had.
Well, the money was put into a pool.
Yeah,
So we haven't put another dollar beside.
So it's, the
No.
money's coming out of the pool,
Yeah.
we'll pay for that.
Yeah, 2 years ago, we
So our
allocated the
200,000 was our money that.
That's
we
the only,
paid.
that's the
I
only.
mean, that's our allocation there, then we use that money to build and sell, and if we sell, do we have?
That money goes back to the pool.
It never
Yeah.
comes out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what the land
Yeah.
bank was built on.
So the city has a loan, right? The city has a loan with this pool for, let's talk about the Fulton Street house for, let's call it 317.5. If the city can collect more than that, then the city retains those earnings. If they can't sell it for that much, then there's a chance that they could owe back. So there's a way to, I mean, there's could be a revenue generator, for the city if you build what the market demands.
But we're not allowed to ask more than so much money,
So-
correct?
So the rule on this is that you can't build it for more than 325. So that's what makes it
Ask
rural
whatever you want.
workforce
But we
housing.
can ask whatever we want.
You
Okay.
can ask for whatever you want. I mean, if you want to build a house on a $100,000 lot, then you might ask for 425.
Yeah, okay,
So it doesn't account the lot. The lot can be whatever. It's just the build cost.
okay.
Figure what you think you can get out of it based on the market.
So we're trying to match with the market demand, right? So we've got a housing study out there. It's online. So far, 198 people have taken it. I just looked this afternoon. There's 19 people of those 198 that said if they could find it, if they're looking for a new house and their budget is $350,000 or more. So there's 19 people that filled out that survey that might be in the market for this type of house. No, I mean so just trying to just kind of share some data that's there. So this is really just giving it a shot. If this isn't approved, then there's a chance that Nebraska City or Henderson could come in and get that money, and then they go build the house, and then we just wait for those funds to be available again. But we wanted to try to.
But if someone, okay, say I want this house, would I have the choice to pick what I want in it?
So that's. I'm glad you asked that too. So let's say you
I'm
guys.
just asking.
Yeah, no, these are great questions.
Kind of stuff, so I can dig all this
If-
stuff, but I'm just.
Yeah, if the council approves this tonight, tomorrow we could try to find a guaranteed sale. And then that person who says, yep, I wanna buy that house, I want that house right there, I want these finishes in it. And then they could maybe decide what they want. Could be a separate contract, cause you gotta stay below that 325.
Okay.
Now, they couldn't come in and say, well, build me a $600,000 house, cause that just would be misuse of the
They
funds.
would have to use that floor plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they could finish the basement and whatnot.
If you want granite
That's
countertops,
what- yeah.
that could be an option for you. If we find someone to partner with us on this, before they break ground or during construction, before the finishes
But
are
those
done.
costs are above and beyond the cost of the houses.
Potentially could be, I mean, they're pricing this house, I don't imagine that it probably has granite countertops at the 317.5 price.
Do you think 1,200 square feet would be enough for someone?
This is the building plan. Gosh, I think Nebraska City built just one like this or similar to it. This is the one that fits in that lot perfectly.
Okay.
And it appears that people want more garages too.
Oh, yeah.
We think that's a big selling point for this too. And the unfinished basement makes it affordable, that's hopefully, you know, a young family or someone, if they wanna build that out to the fourth and fifth, they sure could, but
And at the same time, if they don't want to,
then they don't have
you
to.
wanna pre-buy before you even rough it in or put up the stem walls, as you do, you
Yeah.
can just say, I don't want that. Might save you $10,000 right there just by not even touching the basement.
Right,
But that 1,200, that don't count the basement.
No, that's
It's-
just up top.
So if
Yeah.
they finish that, they've got
yeah,
full basement.
maybe an 1,800, 1,900, 2,000 square foot house, you finish that,
Three-car garage.
and 3-car garage.
I think that's a good plan.
That's, everybody's got a UTV and a couple cars, and that's kinda what it's designed for.
And I think you got an excellent plan, and I like the idea going out there.
I think this one will sell a lot better than the other one.
I think it'll sell quicker.
It might.
So this is
And
what we're trying to
I
test.
honestly think someone would snatch it up just so they could have a home sooner than later.
Well, the biggest thing on this is you don't have to pay interest after you build. That can save
a lot of
someone.
money.
Yep, and so we could utilize this program as a way to try to sell more houses. I mean, if we just get it going, and you know, I do sit on the board for the Southeast Nebraska Affordable Housing Council, so I've got a voice in there to try to, you know, help protect our portion of the funds.
Okay, random question here, just cause I am all about this. Is this gonna have like ADA stuff in it? Will it have the 36-inch doors, or is this gonna be a standard house?
I don't believe that there's a plan to make this ADA compliant, but I don't know. I don't know. I can maybe ask about that.
If just older people, that's something that,
Right?
Sure,
It's neat.
front entry's 36.
You can't go anywhere else.
Yeah, I can't see it, the cutout for the door is,
well, I'm just, I mean,
the alcove is 3 foot 10,
if an older
so
person buys it,
they're
can they have
36
that
inch
option to
front.
make it ADA compliant?
I mean, if we catch it soon enough, right?
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
I mean, they haven't broke around yet, I mean, they.
36 or 40 is standard door size now for almost all.
It looks like 3 foot 10 inches is the entryway.
That's the alcove,
That's the alcove.
take your king studs out
Oh.
of here, to 36 inch.
But like your bedroom doors and stuff, like.
Oh, that'll be 36, they got it.
I don't know. I'll make a note to check on that though.
Most of them are 30.
Really?
Yeah.
Mine are all
they're-
36.
They're usually smaller.
I'll check on that.
Just question.
Yep, I'll make a note to check on that. And then, you know, obviously we're trying to pump up local subcontractors, right? We had really good, feedback on the first house. And so I'll be pushing them for that subcontract. I mean, everybody's got to sharpen their own pencil, but we'll be pushing for it.
So based upon the resolution, what you're authorizing is authorized submission of the application that's within this, for the 606 Moorhead Court. Also, once that goes to CNAC, so once CNAC, if they have that approved, upon that approval, authorizing the mayor to execute all the documents needed to do the purchase agreements, get everything else that falls into place, so we don't have to come back to council with those items. And that would be acquisition of the property also. And then utilizing Sin Contracting, who's our current GC for the 1612 Fulton, this was put together with their numbers as part of the bill cost. So it would be utilizing Sin Contracting again for that work and pushing through with what, you know, local subs that they would be utilizing.
I'm no building expert, but I've heard good things about the way that the Fulton Street house was constructed. Everything's squared up, everything's good, 2x6 exterior
When
walls.
can we go look at it?
We're gonna have an open house here scheduled pretty soon.
Okay.
We'll kind of working with Waller to make sure he's got the
You're real
pictures.
close to it, though, aren't you? I mean, the seating's done, so you're real close to it, just.
The end of last week it was done. I think Waller's working on pictures this week, and then we'll try to do an open
We got
house.
rain on that.
What's that?
We got rain on that.
Yeah, let's get that grass seed down.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Well,
7 years?
Thanks, Luke.
discussion and action, resolution approving a waiver, fine schedule and violations for the Fall City Municipal Code as recommended by the city attorney.
So Tracy had drafted up a resolution for this. This is based upon some realigning to what the state is doing for violations, aligning us with that, so we're kind of matching out. That's that.
Motion to approve that.
All vote.
Seven yeas?
Discussion and action. Management structure and staffing. Mr. Steve,
Strategy.
strategy.
All right, yep. I kind of provided a written report of lining that out. Obviously, we've talked about some of this before. Of looking at what we need to do with staffing and with clerk work and treasurer work in the near future. We got multiple staff that are gonna be leaving the city, and Sandra has provided notice as a deputy city administrator. Resigning from the position and 2 other office staffs. We figure we could potentially look at this now, take advantage of the timing. I know there was concerns on budget and dollars to move forward with, so I put a breakdown of how that pulls together with what we have naturally leaving through attrition versus hiring new and backfilling those positions. So like I said, we have the utility bookkeeper out now that we're trying to get filled. And then potentially looking at hiring the 2 additional, or not really additional positions, realigning that, you would no longer have a deputy city administrator or treasurer. You would have a city clerk, and then a city treasurer. So there's multiple ways of that functioning. It's just whether or not you wanna revise city code to do it, versus just creating those deputy positions or merging the offices completely. So that's kind of the proposal moving forward. You got what we're doing with, through the wage components, the wages that I've put in there, we aligned those with other municipalities of our size. So that's kind of where those landed to create that wage range of a little over 53,000 to a little over 72,000 for those positions. If you filled those up, depending on where you would fill those in, you got 25,000 to 62,000. I mean, if you're filling them on the high end, 25,000 is not gonna pay for your, utility bookkeeper. That's about $17.50 starting wage, for that job as a just base starting wage. I think it's $17.39 or something in there. So potentially you're gonna look at some increase in wage there, or total salary load, but fairly minimal when it comes down to the overall basis for the city. So I drafted up the descriptions of what city clerk would do and what city treasurer does, provided those in draft format. That kind of breaks down all the components that are to be done between that work and what essentially Sandra and I do on the day-to-day for that, plus some additional work, which is like the human resources components that we lack on being able to implement, and obviously some of the other financial components that we use additional staffing on.
So we have 4 in office right now, correct, that are going to be staying?
You have 1, 2, 3, 6. 3. That me.
We have 4 that are currently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we want to add 3 or 4.
We will be right back at the same amount of employees.
Okay.
So not adding
Not adding
anything
it.
with it.
It's just a lot to,
Yeah, so it's,
okay,
consider it's 3 leaving and 3 hiring.
okay, so
They're just in a
nothing
different
else.
capacity and role. Defining a new wage structure that goes along with it. So, we did some internal promotion or internal changing, which is why the utility bookkeeper position is open. A staff member wanted to move into more of the AP side of things, and moved into that side, opening up that utility bookkeeper, so that's why that one needs to be backfilled.
That's where I was confused.
That's why that one's out, so already.
On the first one here, Anthony, it says there over the past several weeks, along with city management, staff, mayor, council leadership, board, public works leadership. Who's the leadership of city council?
Joe Buck and Eric Layden and the mayor.
Mayor, okay, I didn't know anything about it, that's why I asked, I never knew there was anything like that.
Your president, your acting president, and your mayor.
Mayor? I didn't.
Board of Public Works met in their regular session, talked through some of their electric superintendent positions and how their gas is already superintendent and the public works superintendent piece. Questions, concerns?
Have you looked at the current staff workload? Can they absorb any of this extra help without, I mean, the time we go back to full staff, I mean, instead of hiring these changing stuff or not? If they could absorb the treasurers and the clerk's position, I mean, to take the workload off of you?
Well, that's essentially what we're trying to do, is backfill these 3 positions that are leaving with that, to be able to do that.
Exactly.
Yes. We don't have the staffing at the level for, you know, the treasurer piece, and that's what we'd be really filling in to help out on the administrative and management side of things. So right now we have some, you know, AP, doing some AR, we got Teresa, and it was Julie and Megan, and those girls did a lot of that, you know, that work, but not interested in these positions. So that's essentially what it was. You're adding some salary load potentially, if you're gonna eventually, because you're probably gonna get to that high end at some point in time with the salary load, depending on who you need to hire, but that would be the same amount of staff. Just different roles.
So your salary load, like utility billing manager will come from the utility side too, correct?
Yeah, right now, actually, Sandra's the only employee that's on our general funds, of the 3 that are leaving, the other 2 are actually fully on utilities.
The asking is no different, it's just basically. And so then we will involve, I mean, this BPW, do they have any decision making for BPW on the utility side, or is this just done through administrative staff?
It's just done through administrative staffing.
I like the title of deputy and keeping it.
It's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
These would be salaried positions, so they're gonna be a management staff employee. They're gonna be required to come to meetings, they're gonna have to, you know, deal with all those components. The clerk will be having multiple meetings, you know, besides the city council, the other, you know, boards, components that they'll be in, that would leave some of those components for me, where I don't need to be involved with some of those boards, and they're just recording minutes and keeping them on track and making sure we're meeting Open Meetings Act and all those components along with them, but there are other boards that I typically gotta be in to help just administrate and figure out what their path is and try to find a path to get to council to implement measures that they put in place, but that would be the idea. Utility bookkeeper is an hourly employee, so that still stays covered under the CPA agreement, but these would not. And right now, there is an assistant city clerk, piece in, CWA that's there. They're negotiating that out now. It actually wouldn't matter even if the title was covered as assistant or deputy, because these will be a salary position, because these have the ability to hire, fire, promote, demote employees, so they're gonna be management staff with that ability, and when they have that ability, they're no longer able to be in the unit.
Well, we've been pointing this direction for some time and getting some help in the offices and getting some duties and relief, so we can keep up. We just found that out, you know, with getting our clerking and all the help we can get to be efficient and run correctly.
This actually, I agree you need help and everything, and I'm not disagreeing with that whatsoever. I even called, some surrounding cities about, what they have for their positioning and that. And, a lot of them are 7 people, you know, just like we are. But it still bothers me a little bit when we, took on that Tyler Tech software that was supposed to take workloads off some, the employees, and then we ended up hiring 2 more after that. And now we're asking for more help. I mean, we're replacing help, but with higher salaries and everything, coming in and taking more workloads off. I mean, that's my issue that I have on this here, that when it comes here, it comes down to your administration job, so you're going, then it says there, we want to, allocate out the payroll and stuff for $67,000 a month an option too, or?
As complexities grow, that's why. Yeah. Don't think we're ready to do it right off the bat. I think you need to get staffing in, figure that out. See what level that staffing could be, what their experience are with all those components, and then look at that in the future. As far as the budget moving forward, that right there is those numbers. So.
Is this something we think we ought to wait till we get a budget done before we see what financial position we're in, before we move on?
Do we wanna
We're
hire
gonna worry
everybody
about
and then try to fire
20,000
people?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we've got 3 open holes we
We got-
need to fill, and
we got-
we have to fill them with, people that are more in tune with their, capabilities of filling these positions.
Right
Not
now,
at an entry level, and that's what we do.
correct. And right now, the staff is taking on that. Sandra doesn't have a date that she's got obligations to eventually get out to. She needs to be able to train those employees for components that she's in. There's only certain timings to be able to do that, whether that's, running through a payroll set, running through, reconciliation time, all those components that come along with it. The staff we have is stepping up to, they're cross-trained to be able to do a lot of work. They're gonna be putting in extra effort to get there. I'd like to get them relieved as soon as we can with the staff that's stepping up to take on the components that are being added on.
And I totally get where you're coming from, Sean, that, boy, if we're gonna make changes like that, it's easier to make it when you have openings and when you have them all filled, and then you wanna try to hope people quit or try to put square pegs in round holes.
And while you still got Sandra around to help train, and then it's that's where they get there.
I don't see a difference of what we're doing with our budget committees right now. We're negotiating wages and we're developing that into a budget of a known amount. And we're doing the same thing with the management staff. So there shouldn't be any concern of, we gotta build a budget to make it function one way or the other with how any of those union agreements
Just
come
like
out.
what we're doing with our, wage negotiations with our 3 unions,
That's
that's all built in here, you're right. It's all part of the process.
So I'd ask John, of the cities you talked to, how many of them had the same operations that we have? And we operate 4 utilities,
Yeah, no, they're
run a 911 center.
they're totally honest.
On
I'm not.
The complexities of this city for how the size it is, it's quite a bit. And we got a lot of programs in. We've got, we've built in building inspections. Yeah, we've hired staff to do that and try to offset that. But all those pieces are components that we need to get done, because we have housing issues, we have code issues. So all those pieces add complexity. Like Blake, she's gonna go do building inspections, code enforcement's gonna go, we moved her full-time just for that, and does a little bit of animal control. All that also takes administrative work on top of it. It's not just, Blake and them doing that work, there's somebody in the back end doing other components of that, whether it's the clerk, whether it's our AR team for billings, mowing the yards, dealing with all that stuff, all that adds complexity to every operation of the city hall. And our staff has been great at absorbing that. But we're at that point where there's driver quits in, and we'll talk potentially in this closed session a little bit more about it. But there's just a lot to do, and it's ever growing, what we're doing. So in those
So Sean, what other municipalities did you talk to?
Auburn stuff, and Auburn actually runs, I didn't realize they got their board of public works completely separate from their city, which is, they've only.
fairly normal for most, where they operate under a different EIN,
Yeah.
and everything, and they're separated out.
But like the city, I got 3 people in there, the board of public works has 4 on the other side, which they send out their, utility bills and everything like that. And I didn't know any of that stuff either, but there's still 7 still, but it's still separate. And the administrator is on the city side, and, what I was told is, clerk's one who does, like the budget and stuff like that.
Yeah, typically the clerks are in charge of not necessarily developing the budget, they're in charge of facilitating all the paperwork to get done, make sure it's meeting the deadlines, the filings are done. And then the treasurers are typically a part of that, get all the data needed, and then just your departments and your management staff to really, to develop it on top of it. But we we have like we have the airport too, so we set ex officio on that, so we do a lot with just the airport budget itself, or I do, tons with that board and developing all they have, so it's not just our city components, but it's all of our other political subdivision pieces that go along with it too.
I do agree that this is in my opinion, that if we're looking at redoing job positions, this is the time to do it when we're down staff. You know, I think that's the best way to help Anthony, and, you know, that's my personal feelings to it.
How hard is it gonna be to find someone to fill these positions?
Don't know.
That's $1 million
I think
question. That's
it's-
why you move on it, because
Uh,
you're running short on time with those who can help train, because you don't expect to be around forever. So
Right.
you're gonna run short staff, so that's why it's on the agenda. You're gonna have to advertise for it, but you never know. People are switching, there's a lot of jobs available in this community right now, upscale jobs, or it's better than entry level.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is public administration, so, and it's, in this case, if we do it as a deputy component, it's not gonna be an appointed office.
Right.
So, it's not subject to administration changes, you'd have this staff there. I can change with, you know, a new mayor. I could be pulled. Jamie Baker the same way. If you had a clerk, you had a treasurer that were appointed in those office, that same thing can happen. In this case, it probably make it a little more palatable as being deputy. Those people would have a firm job that sit up there, they just gotta make sure that, I mean, obviously do their job. But it's a little easier, they don't have to worry about, hey, do I have a job in 4 years or not? You know, and if administration changes and that happened, the city could operate completely. You have your clerk work that needs to be done, you have your treasurer work that needs to be done.
Like we've done twice in the last 5 years. I've said 3 times we've done it on the last.
If we go into executive session, I would like to discuss my job with you guys.
Well, that's the thing,
because
is
I
like,
don't
can we
think
go into executive session before we vote on this?
Yes, we can go into a closed session now, that's not a concern. I put it as 2 items, just at the request of Derek. I added that on there, but essentially, it's gonna be on that same component, so there's no rhyme or reason we could go into session now based on personnel matters.
So we need to table this now, and then, like, table it until we get back out of exec session, or can we just
You
leave
can
it?
go into exec session on any of your items
Okay.
at any point in time, we're gonna do a closed session for any items. That's what you would need to do.
I make a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
All vote.
Alright, so we have first and second go into closed session regarding personnel matters. Get the state that. Alright, 7 yeas. Let me record this and we will stop live stream. Alright, 6:53 PM. City Council will move into closed session regards to personnel matters.